There are 3 branding and marketing eras. The first one was
turning 20,000 euro into over 1 million euro in revenue and growing sales by 800%.
That's basically a cash printing machine.
Ala, the founder of Andhüman, has in just 3 years worked across more than 100 countries with 50-plus companies, from startups to multi-million global enterprises.
And to build a really strong brand, the easiest way.
The best brands aren't just logos, they are places of belonging.
What does it say about me that I am using this brand?
And how can we avoid the critical mistakes that can cost a business its future?
It's made of 5 steps. The most important thing for a brand.
Welcome to 36 Minutes of Business Alchemy.
Tell me, how is it growing up for you?
My parents were born into the war, the Vietnam War. And in their 30s, so in the 1980s, they moved to Poland, which also was a communist country at the time. We have to imagine them traveling from Vietnam all across the world to a different country, different continent. They didn't know the language, and they built everything from scratch there. So a lot of the upbringing was around the values of discipline and hard work, but also a lot of, dreaming big and being able to go and do something that nobody has thought was going to be possible. So I still definitely keep a lot of that in what I do today and how I am.
And at what point in your life did you think you want to build your own path and you don't want to work for someone else? How did your own career start?
I'm one of those that always tried to build a little business. I always knew that I was going to build something of my own. I love the idea of coming up with the idea of something that doesn't exist and then making that tangible and making that a reality. So in 3rd grade, I used to do these little origami stars, and I would sell them to kids. Don't ask me. Then when I was 14, I made my sister buy this box of different iPhone 14 cases, and I thought I'm going to print artwork on them and then sell them. Little did I know, 3 months later, iPhone 15 came out. So obviously that plan didn't work out very well. Didn't make my fortune there. I also sang a lot for people. So I freelanced, sang for producers, songwriters, things like that. So I always had something that I was, doing on the side. But the one moment where I was like, okay, I'm definitely going full-time in now was when I felt very called out because I was reading the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. I'm sure you have read it as well.
I did.
And there was a passage that said, you can feel productive in 2 states. The first state is if you are in motion. So that is when you are preparing and you are listening to the next podcast, listening to, watching a YouTube video, watching another course or reading another book. So all the things that make you feel very productive, but they're not generating you any outcomes. Or you can be in a state of taking action. And that's the thing that will give you an outcome. And I was like, oh my God, I feel called out. I have been in motion, and reading the 10th book on this is not going to help me start my business. And I will never feel ready. So I was like, okay, this is the time. 2 days later, I, handed in my resignation papers, and here we are today.
I think a lot of people resonate to that. Until you put yourself out there, you're anyway not going to feel ready. But until you put yourself out there, you didn't really start this.
Yeah.
You need to get yourself dirty, right? You need to learn from your mistakes, and you need to get up again, and you need to do it again. And I think a lot of people fear that they are not prepared and that they don't know enough. And then they look at the industry itself, how fast it's moving, and then you really start missing your opportunity.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you actually started?
So when I started the full-time business, which is Andhüman, which is what I'm still running today, this was 3 years ago. So I was 25. Quarter life crisis for sure. Thank you.
I read something the other day that quarter life crisis now becomes a very valid thing, because the way the technology moves, the new generations, everything, it's not even a midlife crisis anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But you also, back in the day, you would compare. It's a human nature. We compare ourselves. And so back in the day, you would compare yourself to maybe a classmate or somebody across the street. And now we're comparing ourselves to all these 12-year-old kids that are making millions on the internet, So there's just so much pressure. And then I think COVID also helped us realize, what we want to spend time on, what we don't want to spend time on. So Yeah, I think that's definitely valid.
And speaking about you realizing life by the circles that you're in and what you see, you worked at the Dorchester, right?
Yes.
Managing client relationships, and the kind of clientele that you had over there was from royalty to presidents to public figures. Did that influence the way you see success?
100%, yes. So coming from two countries that are post-communist, so I'm sure you'll be able to also feel maybe some resonance with that. Because those countries went through so much struggle and so much poverty, I think one of the main indicators of success was always money. So if you have a lot of money, you're successful, right? But at the Dorchester, money is not a problem. These people
Money's in the air.
Money is in the air. A lot of the times, the guests that stayed with us, they didn't have to make money. So they were either royalty or they were simply born into wealth. So can you really say that that is success? Well, probably not, because they were born with it. They didn't do anything to accomplish that. And that was just their status quo. So what that taught me is, number one, that we all as individuals start from a different point, and the success needs to be that delta between where you are and what you're trying to achieve. And then the second thing is, as individuals, myself as well now, the way that I define success now is different from when I was 20 and different from when I was 10 and different. It's going to be different when I'm 50 years old. So the most important thing is to define what success means for you, because otherwise you're just going to follow what others, the definition of success by others. So I think that's the most important thing, so that we know what is success to us and then follow that. Otherwise, we're not going to end up very fulfilled.
You started building Andhüman. You said to make a home for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more about how did you find yourself into the business, and how is that representing a core of who you are right now?
Right. So I did not know that I entered the business space to build a home for myself. But I found out about it as I went through it. So I started the business wanting to, one, create a business, something that I was always interested in, to have a better sense of purpose and something that I can actually control. And number three is a bit to prove myself, but in a good way. Like what can I actually achieve if I put my mind to it? So those were the three things that I started, that I had in mind, and those were the drivers. But when it comes to business, and I'm sure you can attest to that, is that it feels like going on a speed ride of self-discovery. You learn so much about yourself, what you like, what you dislike, what your ego is like, what are your triggers. It becomes so accelerated. And throughout that, I've realized, I've actually built something where I feel extremely myself in, and I feel home in. And what's amazing about that is that has been able to attract other people who are like-minded to me, and they can use my brand and they can use my company as part of their home as well. And I think that's really beautiful. But I'd be also curious to hear your take on that. Is that resonant with you? Do you feel home in your business?
My business, yes, I think it's the only home I feel at this point. Okay. I'm still in the first 5 years in business. So I think you eat, sleep, and breathe your business at that point if you wanted to make it a success. And running a creative company means that I put my personal view on pretty much everything that I put out there. And I think that came at the beginning with a lot of imposter syndrome, because I didn't have a style. I didn't know exactly what's the industry standard. But then the more I discovered and the more I ran my company is me realizing that it's my personality, my creativity that needs to be put out there. And this is what's going to make my business unique.
Right.
And I was thinking about scaling it faster. And then I took a step back, because most of the feedback that I get from clients is, what makes your business unique? It's you. And we really love working with you. So my business right now is very dependent on me. Which is an asset. And at the same time, it's a little bit of an impediment of scaling it. But I really love the fact that I managed to put my creative view out into the world. And I think that's very much like home for me.
Okay, I love that. And then you're bringing amazing team members in and they feel like family somehow as well, right? And they feel home in the business. I think that's such a beautiful
exactly.
thing.
I feel like to make people grow and to give them a space to grow, you really need to give them a platform, to give them the resources, but then to really give them the freedom to develop themselves, to try and to be creative, and then just to be there to guide them.
Right. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're a recovering perfectionist.
That's me.
And that you work a lot on your business. Has your ambition ever outpaced your nervous system?
Every day, probably.
How do you cope with that?
So to my fellow recovering perfectionists, there are two things that I do that please feel free to steal. Those are my little two gems. Number one, I cause quote unquote problems, or I sign up for things that I'm scared of for my future self. So at the moment, I don't have to deal with that, but my future self, so the future Alla, will have to deal with that. So for example, signing up for this podcast a few months ago. But a few months ago, I was not stressed. Yesterday, I was like, why did I do this? Same with saying yes to a teaching opportunity. So it was also something that I said yes to. I knew that that was going to happen 6 months from now. It's going to be a future Alla problem. So doing that and signing up for things that I know I will grow from, but also allowing myself that time to prepare is one way to do it. And the second thing that I do is I literally hire people that keep me accountable. So I will pay people to keep me accountable because I now have I have skin in the game because I've paid and I don't want to waste my money. And number two, there's one thing that I dislike more than not doing something perfectly, and that is disappointing people or being positioning myself as someone that is unreliable.
I resonate with you when it means hiring people to hold you accountable. I think this is when I really became accountable for my progress. It's the second when I started having a team around.
Right.
And they look at you, and if you don't go that extra 10 miles, they won't either. And I've never been this kind of a boss person, but more like a leader. So I really want to be able to show you and to teach you if you're in my team. So that is really this kind of unconscious accountability that's always at the back of my head.
Exactly. And you hold a responsibility towards your team members.
Yeah.
And if you don't get your things together,
I don't think it's an option.
Yeah, exactly. So that definitely helps overpace, the inner voice that's like, no, this is not perfect yet. What's better, you do it, because otherwise everything else is put on hold.
And you said that dots are connecting when you follow your curiosity.
Yes, it's my favorite topic ever. If you look at my career trajectory, it's really all over the place. But one thing that I always did was I followed what inspired me and I followed what I was curious about. And a lot of the times we think we need to connect the dots in order to start taking action, and that you have to have this clarity and then you take action and steps to get to that clarity. But the problem is that most people don't have clarity. We don't know what we want in the future, right? So what I follow now is that action leads to clarity. You just have to move in a somewhat right direction, and that is guided by the inspiration, the curiosity. And over time, you're going to get to where you were supposed to be. If you asked me 5 years ago or even 3 years ago when I started Andhüman, and you would say, you're going to be focused on branding and brand building, I had no idea you could make money doing this, But looking at it now, I'm like, this makes so much sense. And my background in hospitality and in sciences and in art and all of that put together, that makes me the asset for this particular, branding, branding service. And there's nobody else, or very few people, that have this experience that can deliver this sort of results to them and, at least through the same processes.
As entrepreneurs, you have to get used so much to be in the dark and to really start doing the steps without really knowing. You kind of have a sense of direction, of course.
Exactly.
But you don't really know exactly how you're going to get there. And you need to start becoming so comfortable with this feeling. I think this was something that I worked on for the longest that I've been in business.
Yeah.
And it's just being in the space and just having that faith that you know where you're going. And then eventually, as you get there and you look back, it's like, yes, everything actually connected.
Yes. And it's so much better than you ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
So why would you have a clear goal? I mean, if someone has a very specific clear goal, bravo. I was just never one of them.
Me neither.
So I think a lot of people don't have that clear goal, and that's okay. Just follow your instincts, follow the inspiration, follow the curiosity. And yeah, action leads to clarity.
So growth is about transformation. How do you decide what to keep and what to let go?
I firmly believe that it links to purpose and your why. And I've developed a very simple framework, which I can share with you, around how you can find a purpose. So I think that's something that we all are striving to find, right? Our purpose. What is our purpose? And like many, I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek and Start With Why. I really, really believe that this is the right philosophy. The issue that I had with it is for years, I could not figure out what my freaking why was. And there's so much pressure around that because, you know, he says, and it's beautiful. It's like, oh, this is the thing that's going to make you get out of bed and be super motivated to work towards that. And I just always had a really difficult time finding that one why that could fulfill that. So upon thinking and working towards my purpose and defining that, I've come to the conclusion that we don't have one why, but three whys.
Okay.
And the three whys put together are the cornerstones of your purpose. Ready?
Yes.
So the first why is your personal why. It could be anything from I want to prove myself, I want to retire my mom, I want to help my brother with something. It's a why that you can keep for yourself. You don't have to share it with anyone. It's something that is really, really yours. The second why is the big why. So how do you contribute to something bigger than yourself in the world? So that's the Simon Sinek why. And then the third why, which is one of my favorite whys, which is just the love for the craft. I just love what I do. I don't see time pass by. I lose track of time, or, you know, me at 2 a.m. Googling something because I'm just so curious about it and I can't sleep without knowing this piece of information. And so when something floats my way and can tick all of my whys, I'm like, okay, this is something that I need to pursue because I know that it serves my purpose. But if there's something that floats my way that doesn't tick any of them or ticks one, but just a little bit, I think we can safely let that go.
How did you find your whys?
A lot of journaling, a lot of talking to people, and frankly, a lot of talking to ChatGPT these days.
It becomes such a therapist at this point.
It has. It's crazy. Did you see the one where I think someone asked ChatGPT what it would do if it was a human for a day?
Mm-mm.
Please Google that. Whoever is listening to this, please Google that. It is such a profound answer. You'll literally tear up. Like, it's crazy that it came up with that. And I've been using ChatGPT for, I think, has it been 2 years since it sort of
I think so.
become quite mainstream? I can see, you know, month by month how much better the quality of the answers become. And we're just at the beginning.
What advice would you give to people when they need to do a lot of experiments and to try a lot of things, not to get lost in the noise, but to actually find the right experiences that they would add value to their life?
I would say ask a lot. Just ask a lot of questions. And people typically love helping other people. So whenever I'm at a crossroad, I always think, okay, who can I reach out to that has either done it before or has done something similar? And even if that's a person that I don't necessarily know, I will just drop them a DM and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'd love to hop on a 30-minute call with you. Would you be willing to do that? And 9 times out of 10, they say yes. And I've talked to so many CEOs of, you know, big companies or big startups and people that really have very little time. But there's something about them, I think, wanting to give back. And I've noticed that, yeah, that's been my go-to strategy. If I don't really know where to move and there's just so much noise around me, I'll try to find someone that I somewhat trust or that I know that I like their way of thinking. And then I'll just reach out to them and ask them.
Is this how you got a bit into teaching as well? Is it because you want to also give back?
Yes, I love teaching. I had no idea I would love it so much, but it is something, if you ever have a chance to do that, please just try it.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I had a couple of lectures at my old university, and I loved it as well. But I never had an actual course.
Yeah.
So I would really love to hear your thoughts also on to what level universities, or just the academic, let's just say the academic environment, can really translate the lessons into the careers that we have today.
Ooh, juicy question.
Yes, please.
I think generally speaking, the academic system as is has a bit of a hard time translating theory to practice, which is why I always encourage students to get a part-time job or find a little internship, between one semester and the other or during summer, because that's when you get the gist of what it actually feels like to be in the workforce. And it's so different to what they teach you at school.
Yeah.
And then also one job position from another. They might have the same job title, but it's going to be completely different from one company to the other, right? So I think it's still lacking that, there's still a bit of a gap between that, but some schools do better than others. So for example, I'm proudly going to shout out the Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts, where I teach. The school has monetary incentives from the government, actually. So what happens is for every student that goes through university, graduates, and gets a job, the school gets money for that. So now there's an incentive to really bridge the gap between theory and practice, because you want to give a student that placement, because then you're getting money out of it. And, the whole country benefits from that, because now you have a student that is economically valuable to the market. So that's one, I think, a really good incentive for governments to try and bridge that gap with schools. And then the second thing is just hiring people that have practical knowledge as well. So, for example, one thing that I really appreciate about the school is that I can experiment so much in my course, and the course coordinator is always like, you're the domain expert, and we're gonna trust you to create the best course here. And so I always make the students come up with a business idea. It's a project course. So they have to come up with a business idea. They have to go out and talk to people, which is the hardest thing for a student to do, to find the product market fit. Ideally, they have to get some money out of it. So even if it's $1, at least you've gotten $1. And then to create a prototype. So at the end, they're graded by the prototype of the business and whatever it is that they've built. And something that I'm super excited about, and I think you're gonna appreciate this one, is these project courses, they always come with a reflection paper. Mm-hmm. And if you're a student, you know that nobody takes that seriously. I never took a reflection paper seriously when I was a student. So instead of a reflection paper next year, what I'm going to have the students do is they will have to create a LinkedIn account or a Twitter account. And every week, they're going to have to document and do a little write-up about what they learned and publish it. And I don't care if it's going to be anonymous or personal, but the idea is to understand how content creation works, what is good storytelling, what is a good hook, how do you communicate something that is enticing to the second person. And hopefully, just hopefully, they will they will train this muscle to really write and publish. And imagine if they do this until they graduate for 3 years. So many opportunities could open up.
That is brilliant. I love that. Would you say that the practical approach in your course was that the reason why it got so much better?
I really think so. I mean, I bring to the course whatever issues that I have in the business. So I teach on Mondays. The next Monday, I will come and I'll be like, so this is a cold email that I got from someone. Let's decode why this is bad. Or something good happened. Let's decode why it's good. So they really get to see a little bit of a behind the scenes of what happens in my business as they're running through the course. And I just love that. I love my students. They're the best.
Can we speak about this magic campaign that you ran and you created from 20,000 euros to 1 million euros in revenue?
Yes.
Can you tell us how can a business can maximize their budget to such returns?
Yeah, that's the dream, right? To spend $1 and get 50 back. That's basically a cash printing machine. But for that to happen, every single part of the machine needs to work. So it's not a magic box that you put money in and suddenly millions and millions of dollars come out. And a lot of the times when businesses want to scale, they think that the answer is putting more money into advertising. And especially now with social media and social media advertising, yeah, people think that, oh, the more money we're going to put in, the more money we're going to get out of that. And so I think about it as a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to scale, a lot of people think they're just going to have to pour the water in. But the issue is that if you don't have strong foundations, that bucket has a lot of holes. So if you pour all that money and all that water in, it's just going to very quickly pour out on the other side. And so a really good way to think about how to build that foundation that will be able to really support every single penny that will go in is to build a really strong brand. And to build a really strong brand, the easiest way that I can share that is a framework that we have developed called the Belonging Brand Framework. It's made of 5 steps. I always think of a brand as a home and not a house. So this is very important, a home. And this is why the 5 steps that I'm about to give you really feed into how we can treat our brand as a home and how we can make that as welcoming as possible for people to come in and enjoy that and to yield the best results afterwards. But yeah, so the number 1 is the humans, making sure that we know who they are. We know what the big vision of all of them are. What are our shared values? Do we like one another? How do we facilitate these people to talk to one another? The second one is rituals. As a brand, do you do anything regularly that makes the brand the brand? Right? So at home, it could be dinner every night at 7. For a brand, it could be sending out email marketing on a weekly basis, or we throw these events very regularly and our people can come and hang out with one another. So these rituals that really build the relationship with the customer, but also between the customers. Then we have the symbols. So visuals, visual identity. Can I show you something visual that immediately you can associate and connect it with the feelings that I have towards your brand? The fourth one is very, very important, which is the space, which a lot of people don't think about. And by space, I mean, if you have an event, you have obviously a space, but also a space is, for example, your website. Are people who go to your space feeling welcomed? Is it ready to welcome the people? Because the big thing is with advertising is that, for example, you will get all of this traffic. The traffic will come to one of your spaces and you're not ready to welcome them. So they go on the website. It's super confusing. They're like, what is happening here? And they just leave. And that's the holes that a lot of the times we spent so much money to get attention, get people to come in, and then they come in and they just leave because there's nothing interesting for them there. And the fifth and final one is the neighborhood. So how does our house position itself against all of the other houses that are in the neighborhood? Does it look different? Is it one that is funny and every Halloween has, the best decorations? And this really ties back to the social identity. So am I proud that I'm coming from this house and from this home? With brand, it's the same thing. What does it say about me that I am using this brand? And it better say something cool because if it does, then I want to talk about it and I'm proud about it. So I will obviously show it off and tell more people about it. So those are the 5 things that if we can have everything lined up really well and be ready, have that infrastructure ready to then invite people in, and they come and they have exactly, the journey that they can go through. That is how we can turn 1 cent into 50 cents, which is what we did. And we wouldn't be able to do that if, had we not done the groundwork and has the brand not done the groundwork before.
This is what happens a lot with our brands that look at social media as the one sales funnel and marketing funnel. Because firstly, social media is not exclusively a sales funnel.
Exactly.
And it shouldn't also be your only marketing funnel.
Yes, exactly. It's an ecosystem. That's why when you think of a home and a house, it's also like different rooms and every room has a different purpose. So one room could be your website. The other one could be your socials. your in real life events.
So when everyone thinks that email marketing is dead, you build a 6-figure campaign. How did you do that in today's climate? Also considering that we're very overwhelmed with advertising and promotional materials.
Right. So the first thing that I will say is whichever business that runs and doesn't have email marketing is leaving a whole lot of money on the table. It is, I truly, truly believe this, the most important audience asset that you can have. Why? On social media, Instagram can shadow ban you. They can literally delete your account. They can block you. They can do really anything to your account. And you will, with a snap of a finger, lose all of your audience. Same with Twitter, same with Facebook, same with all of the other social media accounts. With email, what is amazing is that, number one, you own the list. So you own these emails and these audiences. If one provider decides to shut down, or they decide, you decide this is not my platform anymore, you can take your email list and you can go to a different provider and start everything there, and your audience is still there with you. Second thing is you're not reliant on any algorithms, right? So I'm sure you know this as well, and you've experienced this as well, where the followers that you have, maybe 20% sees your content probably now. Back in the day, you would post something and whoever has subscribed or followed you would see your content. Now it's not the case anymore. But with email, it's sent out. Chronologically, you are sure that the email is going to be delivered to your audience. So it's the single most important audience asset that you can have. And the second thing, and this is going to be a very, very simple tip, but if someone has opted in to receive emails from you, they're essentially saying, I trust that you will share something valuable with me, and I invite you to something that is very intimate. I check my email every day. It is basically the closest thing, other than knocking on their door, it's the closest that you can get to a customer, right? So don't take that lightly. Don't blow the email marketing stuff up by broadcasting to people. Instead, choose one person. Choose one true fan. Let's call him Alex. Ideally, it's a real person. And whenever you're writing emails or campaigns, write to Alex. Would Alex like this? And would Alex open this email, the email subject? If you speak to one person, and you should be, because it is a very intimate conversation, that is how they're going to open the emails. That is how they're going to feel like, okay, this is something that was personalized to me, and really read the emails and feel like they really connected with you. And one thing that I love doing is also allowing people to reply back to me. And I always say, we will reply to every email that comes through. And yes, sometimes we have crazy people that will just write some silly thing just to see if, we're lying or not. But a whole lot of time, it leads to really interesting conversations. So I really recommend brands try to open up a communication way where the customer can also email you back.
Is there any subject line tips that you can give us? Like a couple of examples this is a no-go, this is a yes.
Oof. Yeah. So no-goes are anything that I would deem very markety. So summer 2025, everybody rejoice. What? So something like that. But we get those emails very often. And that's something that you obviously discard very quickly. A good email could be something like, you will not believe this. We worked on this last month. Would love for you to see this. Okay. Or something that's a bit more conversational. I'm just making it up now, so they're probably not going to be ideal. But, something that you would write to a friend. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a hack, but adding an RE is always, they replied to me, so I will open it. Obviously, if the rest after the RE is not summer, everyone rejoice. But yeah, I think the more conversational you can make it and the more human. If you wouldn't write that to your friend, don't write it to your customer.
What is the biggest mistake that you see in people running branding campaigns?
Ooh, this is also a juicy one. So there are 3 branding and marketing eras. The first one was from the 1950s to, let's say, early 2000s. Those are the typical Coca-Cola ads, Apple, IBM, very consistent and very kind of broadcasty, right? So you would throw a couple million for a campaign and then you would run it for a year. You couldn't really target so much, so it was very mass. Then afterwards, we run into the second era, which is very performance marketing. So all of the Facebook ads, fast e-commerce, very performance driven and very granular in terms of who and what you can target, right? And then now, just to go back, the second stage is, I would say, 2010 till probably COVID time, something like this. And then now we're in the third era, which is where people want meaning and want to be part of something bigger because the world is so disconnected. They feel like they need to align with the values of the brand before they actually want to purchase from it. And not only that, they want to contribute to the brand. So we come to a place where we have this co-creation between the brand and the customer, and they're building the brand together. So the biggest mistake is to be stuck in either one of the first 2 eras, which a lot of people still do, right? So you still have companies spending millions of dollars coming up with one campaign that was not tested in the market. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall and then hoping that some stick. So you come up with one campaign, you run it for a year, and you're just like, okay, we got this many impressions, or, the billboard here was nice. But there's not much that you could get from it. Or stuck in the second phase, which is very function driven. So we have the best product or we have the cheapest product, or both. And the issue with that is that you can only either churn out new products all the time, because in this day and age, it's so easy to copy the product. So you can have all the other companies start copying your product. And if that happens, you have to drop your price in order to be basically attractive to the customer.
Still competitive enough.
Exactly. So if you think of the typical fast growth, fast e-commerce companies like ASOS or Boohoo, for example, people don't feel brand loyalty toward them. They will, if you have 2 of the same dresses, and let's be honest, these products do look the same and they do copy one another, you will end up buying the cheaper option, right? So as a company, you either have to spend a lot of money and time churning out new products all the time, or dropping the price. So that's also a really, just a terrible way to do business and not very sustainable. So for all of these very performance-driven, very fast e-commerce, I think regardless of which website you go to, the first thing you're going to see on the banner is 70% off, sale, Black Friday. And you can totally see that when it's a company that is very sales-driven and very function-driven.
How do you make the right hires? How do you spot an A player in the pool of candidates?
I don't really care so much about their past job title, for example. So if they have skills that are transferable that I can make use of at this company, feel free to come. The 3 things that I look at is kind of looping back to what my parents taught me back in the day, which is, are you proactive? Do you have high agency? Are you okay to just roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and solve a problem that might not even be your area of expertise, but you're just like, okay, this is an interesting problem. Let me try and solve it. One of my proudest moments is hiring my designer. I mean, she's this incredible designer. Anything that's on the website, she's also art directed, all of that. So in case you want to have a look at, the past work that she's done. But she's an award-winning designer. I poached her from the most prestigious studio in Poland that has been around for 20 years, I think. And this girl decided to come work with me, 2 years ago when the company was super scrappy and
what was
basically
your pitch?
Just me. So I just shared, the vision. I was like, I think we're onto something. I want to work with cool people on cool projects. And I have a really long-term vision. And also I'm quite fun to work with. And I love your work. We started working on a few projects together. So she was a freelancer before for a little bit while she was still at the other company. And then she was like, you know what? I see the appeal. I love that you're working with, at the time we worked with 14 different countries. I was like, I don't really care about the niche. Everyone was like, yeah, you should niche down and do this. I was just like, no, let's just see whatever, inspires us and makes us curious. Let's go with that. And I think that made her quite excited. And since then, for the past 2 years, we traveled to so many countries. We did so many projects together and never looked back. So it's been a fun ride.
I agree with you. Once you find someone, like it's an A player in your team, never let them go.
Yes, exactly.
Before we wrap up, I have some fire questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is the most unpopular opinion about marketing strategies today?
Whatever problem you have, Facebook ads is not going to fix it.
If you could erase one trend in marketing, what trend would that be?
Focusing on short-term tactics and short-term hacks over long-term connections.
What is something that you see in people's content, especially campaigns, that scream, this is so unreal?
I earned a bazillion dollars using this simple trick.
If you have to launch a brand tomorrow, but with no ads, no budget, no team, what would you do? What would be the first thing?
Find my first 10 customers through family or friends or social media and make them so damn happy that they will talk about my solutions to others. And then find my next 100, do the same, find the next 1,000 and do the same. But I would really over-deliver on everything that I give to them so that they do the marketing for me.
What is one success mindset that you think it's absolute BS?
Only do things that are scalable.
What does business alchemy mean to you?
Some of the best business decisions are not the rational ones.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.